Hey guys, Toby Mathis here, and today we're going to talk about how businesses conduct themselves during an inflationary cycle. In other words, how small businesses can beat inflation. What are some thoughts and ideas that can help you during this time where we're seeing probably historic inflation rates? Anybody wants to go back to 1982 and say, oh, we haven't been this high since 1982? It's not true because we used a different model to calculate the consumer price index at the time, we're in a 1982 equivalent about 15% inflation, whereas we're showing 7.9 right now. Now, who knows where we're going to be in the future? This is not going away soon. When you have inflation, you have too few goods and lots of people. That's typically what it is. You could say, well, everything's getting more expensive, gas prices are going up. That's because there's a huge demand for it, right? When you have less houses available for sale. For example, right now, as we're sitting here today, the actual inventory in the United States is just under 6 months. That's a little bit less than normal, but you have this huge push on the inventory that's causing the prices to go up. And you're coupling that with historically low interest rates. To combat the inflationary cycle, we have to raise interest rates. The Fed has to raise inflation interest rates to combat the inflationary. In other words, too many people, too few goods, make the goods a little more expensive by making capital more expensive, right? So that one statement right there, we're making capital more expensive to cause the price pressures to go down, should be bells should be going off. It should be something that you're paying attention to as a business owner. So the first thing you're looking at, if you're the business owner, is you're saying, am I a capital intensive business? Because if I am, I have two threats. Number one, any cash I have may as well be ice sitting out in the sun. It's melting. The value of the cash I have on hand is going down. Number two, future cash, if I have to borrow for it, is going to get more expensive. So we already saw mortgage rates go from just below 3% to 4%. We're going to see that continue to go up, more than likely. So money is going to get more expensive. All goods, I'll say, I was going to say goods and services are all going up, but let's just be focusing in on goods. You have everything from supply chain issues to the pandemic has shut down lots of factories. We're behind. Microchips take about 6 months to 2 years to create. So we're far beyond having a decent supply chain. So those prices are up. And you know what else is up? We have like massive amounts of need in the business sector for employees. So we have this really low unemployment rate coupled by the fact that some people just haven't gone back to work. So you have businesses needing more people. And when that happens, guess what happens? Cost goes up. Now, here's the weird thing. The cost of personnel is not keeping pace with the cost of things. In other words, personnel costs are not going up as fast as the cost of, say, energy, oil, or wheat, or food, just regular foodstuffs, or housing, right? Everything else is going up like a rocket ship. The one thing that's not been keeping pace with it is actually the cost of personnel has not gone up as fast, which is good for a business owner standpoint because you're like, at least I'm not getting crushed there. But we're seeing inventory going up. So let's kind of go through, say, if I am a business owner, then what should I be doing? Number one, don't sit on cash. Take your cash and you have to put it into something that is going to be equities, which sounds really risky, but like, I don't know what else you're going to do. Maybe you could do tips bonds, the inflation protected bonds that you can get. But get your cash out of a basic savings account, out of a checking account. It's melting, absolutely melting. Your inventory, if you are somebody who has to buy to supply. So let's say that you're buying uh, butter, you're a baker, uh, flour, sugar, all the things that you need to bake. you're going to have to get very creative about how you get those things so that you're not putting yourself at a significant disadvantage. That if you were still having supply crises and you project that it's going to happen in the future, you might want to say, I'm going to buy things at today's dollars, knowing that it's going up in the future. So let's say that I can buy something for $1 today, and I know by the end of the year it's going to be $1.10. Instead of sitting on cash, I might want to make that investment, right? Things like your leases or your rents might be fixed, and hopefully you have a longer term lease, and those things aren't moving along with inflation. Although I don't think that right now landlords are much of a position to negotiate. I still think that this is a renter's market on the commercial side. On the residential side, I think you're absolutely toast. Like, you're seeing rents go up, you're seeing house prices go up 20% last year. You're seeing these incredible moves, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. The one thing I do see changing is the top end of the market. As capital becomes more expensive and the Feds raise rates once, they're anticipated that they might be doing so as many as 7 times the next year. You're possibly going to see inflation rates or the interest rates really start to skyrocket to push inflation down. And that's, again, that could be a double-edged sword. That's going to possibly shave off the top of the real estate market. We're already having pullbacks on single family homes being built because builders are starting to get a little wary of what's coming down the pike. If they raise interest rates considerably and mortgages get more expensive, just assume that there's a certain amount of buyers that are going to be starting to look, the affordability goes down. So they may not be able to buy those brand new houses at a certain price. They may have to build something at a lower price, or you just slow down production. So for example, Ferrari, there's a reason Ferrari doesn't make a million cars a year, whatever, like some huge amount, because there's a scarcity element of it. So if you are selling a higher end product, one of the things that you can do to protect your competitiveness is possibly produce less. Again, lots of people chasing fewer goods. Savings rates have never been higher. You're going to see prices continue to escalate. If I'm a business owner, I may want to use that to my advantage if I have to. So let's got to go through this again. Sweep through the cash, make sure, focus on your pricing model right now. So if I am a business and I know that my industry, for whatever reason, is going to be hurt by this, like a furniture store, for example, right? I have lots of energy costs to transport goods. I have to deliver them. I have all these things that are going to cost me more because gas is through the roof. Transportation costs are going up. Cost of materials have gone up. There's only so much I can raise my price, but my competitors are going through it too. And so now's the time where I might want to shift a pricing model. I always think back to the software companies that used to sell software in a package. You go into the store and you'd buy it, a plastic box of Adobe or something, and they said, hey, you know what? Forget that. Let's go to a different pricing model. What generally happens is the company makes a little less over a short period of time, but is much better off in the long term. The reason I say this is because when there's these types of cycles going on, and you have this massive inflation, and everybody's kind of sitting in the same boat, your ability to change your pricing model may be a competitive advantage that is in your long-term best interest. If you're able to do it, that's a big if. Like, if you're living month to month, if your business is not in a position to be able to weather a little bit of a pullback, then this goes out the door. But if you're in a position where you have a competitive advantage, you have a few different groups that you are direct competitors with, and maybe they're not as fit as you are financially, this might be a time to turn up the pain a little bit and say, hey, we're in an inflationary cycle. I'm going to win more clients under a different pricing model. Maybe I'm doing something special for those people. So where everybody else has a surcharge, for example, fuel, you say, you know what, I'm going to eat it deliberately, knowing it's going to cut into my bottom line, but that I'm going to generate more market share. And I would look at my advertising budget and say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm better off cutting some of my advertising budget, instead doing something where people are more apt to switch to you because you are providing something that of a value that somebody else can't. So it kind of goes into, do you have a brand to where I could shift the pricing and adjust with inflation? And if no, am I financially fit enough to where I can offer incentives to get other people to come over so that I can develop that brand for the future? Now, as an investor, I tend to look at things like Coca-Cola and Apple, these companies where they've shown the ability, like if Coca-Cola needs to raise its prices, nobody's going to not buy Coca-Cola, right? You've already seen Apple raise its prices, and we already know the result of that. People still buy the iPhones and the iPads and the Macs and all those at great, like it doesn't hurt their market share. They continue to grow massively. So as an investor, I kind of look at that. As a business owner, I need to determine, is that me? Is it easy for me to create a scenario to where I can just adjust my pricing up and be transparent about it? So some companies don't even raise their prices, they just put a fuel surcharge. Like generally speaking, a wholesaler, that's what they're going to do. They're going to say, yeah, you can order this, but gas is more, so I'm adding a small surcharge. Might be 20% on your invoice, and that's all they do. You don't begrudge them because you know that that's the truth. And you might want to try that with your client base as well. And so it kind of goes into that. Last thing I'm going to say is that this is a time to buy strategically. So if I can acquire goods and services, or most likely it's goods, like if I could get things and store it, like I have space into the pandemic, I'm sitting on like our office. Most people are working from home now. I have a ton of extra space. If I needed to, could I acquire materials and sit on them by buying them now at a price that I know is going to be lower than what those same things are going to be in the future? Could I do that now? On the same token, the cost of personnel doesn't go crazy. It tends to fall behind all the other inflationary cycles. Is now the time to staff up if I can and adjust my prices accordingly. But look at this as the opportunity, saying, hey, you know what? It's going to be more expensive in 6 months. It's going to be more expensive in a year to acquire these people. Do I want to go on my hiring spree now? And again, this is, are you financially fit to be able to handle this? Am I going to be able to do it? So, like, all of those things end up being this weighing feature where you determine, is this the right time to make some of these changes in my business? What I do know is this, is that where there's chaos in the market, there is opportunity for those who are fleet of foot and who are shrewd enough to take advantage of it. And so, what was it? I think it was interest rates. Good old fashioned, or good old Warren Buffett. He would talk about inflation rates being like gravity. And when you have really low inflation rates, it's like there's not gravity. So if you had a high jumper, you're going to have some people that shouldn't be clearing the bar clearing the bar. And when you have the interest rates go up, that's going to be pushing down on them. When you have inflation, know that the inflation rate is going to be combated with interest rates to push it down. Interest rates, or excuse me, inflation goes up, interest rates are going to be, are going to raise to push it down. That's going to be your competitive. Yeah. Boom. Hey, inflation keeps popping up. It's popping up high, guys. So we're going to have to raise the interest rates. So that interest rate's going up too, right? That's going to have an impact on so many different companies. The things I would avoid right now, capital intensive businesses that are relying on lots of debt, all these growth stocks, companies that are not profitable, I'd be avoiding them like the plague. So as an investor, I'd be focusing on companies that are strong, profitable companies, saying they're going to weather the storm. And as a business owner, you're looking at the same thing. Like I could tell you personally, we have hundreds and hundreds of employees, over 400 employees, 450 or whatever it is. And you know that the cost of those employees is going up. Do you want to choose to monkey around with your pricing, or do you want to continue to grow market share? You just have to be savvy about it and say, these are the trade-offs. A lot of folks are in that scenario, like grocery stores. They just have to keep raising their prices because they operate on paper thin margins. And the only way you can, the only way you could possibly compete against that is maybe you start doubling up your orders. Instead of ordering once every week, maybe I'm doing it every 2 weeks, depending on how much space is taken up in a truck. I used to use dead headers back in the old days of liquidation. Sometimes you're trying to, hey, I'm going to get shrewd and I'm going to try to be a little more nimble about my shipping, push prices down. It all depends on your business, obviously, but those are the types of things you're looking at. How do I lower my costs? If I can't lower my costs, can I pass it on to the customer? If I can't pass it on to the customer, can I gain a competitive advantage? If I could pass it on to the customer, do I have enough of a moat around my business that I can withstand the attack of my competitors? Am I known well enough? Do I have a strong enough brand? And just know that there's tons of opportunities to where, again, I remember this vividly once when we were going through a crisis and somebody said, turn up the pain. Let's turn up the pain. My competitors have had it too easy. I can withstand it. I've been through this before, but not all my competitors can. So they won't be able to weather it, and I'll pick up their market share as a result. So you kind of look at it as that's like a kind of a mean way to look at it, right? But you're saying, hey, if everything's going to get more expensive, I've been very smart about how I plan. I have my kind of my safety net of capital over here. Maybe it doesn't cost me anything. Maybe I've been a really good saver, which right now we have a ton of people that are good savers. Maybe that's me. Then I want to use that to my advantage. I don't want to just sit on it. I want to say, how do I pick up market share? Maybe I look at my pricing models. Maybe I do a little more maneuvering than what somebody's just going to tell you, raise your rates. Oh, you have to hike prices up. Maybe not. You're a business owner. It's a game. Figure out what the rules are and make sure that you're putting yourself in the best situation for your success based on all the things I just kind of laid out. Hopefully, those are good ideas for you. And you're going to be able to withstand and better yourself as a result of these inflationary cycles. But in any event, you now know and have your eyes open on the things that you could be looking at to beat this inflationary cycle. Hey, if you guys like this type of information, please share it with others. Subscribe, click that like button if you can. Even click the bell so that you're getting notified when new videos come out. And if you have ideas that you want us to cover, just send them on in the comments, and I absolutely will take a look. I pulled this one out of the comment from a viewer who said, "Hey, would you hit on this topic?" I said, "Absolutely."